So I came back and the processing finished. Before I go to the output, let's go back to see a stage I forgot to explain, and that was stage 2, auto sensing landscape folders. What this stage does is it goes through each of the scans looking for landscape scans in which it contains both the left and right page within the book. What it's looking for is pages in which those left and right sides are independent of each other and therefore can be split down the middle so that they take up more room when viewed on smaller e-reader devices. But it's smart enough not to split scans in which the left and right pages form one giant image. In this case, it didn't find any landscape pages that it had a split. It really depends on who did the scanning as to whether or not they already went through manually and determined which pages should be split and which ones shouldn't. So in this case, Solaris SVU, who scanlated this series, already did that work for us, so the program didn't have to do anything. So at the end of processing, it goes into binding. What binding means, it's going to take all those individual chapters that belong to the same volume, organize them in the correct chapter order, and then bind them into a single volume entity. So in this case, you can see chapter 10 through 18 of volume 2 are bound together into a single volume 2 file. In this case, volume 4 had an extra chapter, chapter 35.01, so it was placed at the end of the volume. So it finished processing. Right here it says the total time it took to process the scans, and it automatically opened up the output folder within my file explorer. So this is it right here. So these are the output files that would be copied to my Kindle DX. Here is one of the bindings, volume 2, chapter 10 through 18. That binding's right here. So this is all the images from chapter 10 through 18. It has the Kindle bookmark files as well. But those individual chapter files are still here, you can see. And the reason for that is in case we want to reprocess the series, we won't be able to determine which of these images was part of chapter 10 and which was part of chapter 11 anymore. So in order to reprocess the series, we need to keep these files around. The files you would actually copy to your e-reader would be the main volume file. So I would take all of the main 4, 5, 6, all the way through down to volume 11, and that's what I would be copying to my e-reader. The program is smart enough that when you do want to reprocess, and usually you reprocess because you've added a chapter to the series, so in this case I would have added chapter 90 to volume 11, or maybe I just want different settings this time, so let's change a setting. Let's turn PDF on, because some people prefer PDF output when using a Kindle. So it has all the same settings from before. When I run it again, it's not going to waste time processing all of those images again. The stage 3, the longest stage. If it picks up that there are new scans that weren't processed earlier, it'll go ahead and process those. But I won't waste time doing repeat work. Right now, it's going through the organization again. It has to go into that source folder here and extract all the archives out in the folders and do all the volume chapter detection again. It does that every time because after all that extraction has been done within the source folder, all of those extracted files are deleted so that in the end your source folder looks the way it did before processing, after processing. Source folder is never changed. There's never any risk of data loss within the source folder. So you can see it sped right through. It didn't even think it needed to do stage 3. It didn't even mention stage 3. I went right to stage 4, which is creating the PDF files. Stage 4 is taking a bit longer than the last time because last time we weren't creating PDFs. Creating PDFs, especially a PDF, a long page PDF, which is any of these volume ones that contain multiple chapters, are going to be close to 200 pages each. Creating a PDF for each one of those is a pretty intense operation. So now, every time you reprocess the same series, it always recreates the bindings from scratch. It isn't reprocessing any of these chapter folders, but it's deleting the bound folder and recreating it again. The purpose of that is the chapters which make up this binding may have changed from your last processing, since you may have added new files to your series. In this case, none of the files which make up a binding have changed, but we are creating PDFs out of these bindings. So what we'll see different in the output is that each of these volume files, instead of just having a folder as output, it will also have a PDF for that folder. While that's running, you can see down here there's a little box for user input. Every once in a while the program will ask you a preference on something. For example, you may have two files that both map the volume 6 chapter 45, and it'll ask you which one of those source files you want to use. So you would specify your answer down here in user input and just hit enter. So it finished doing reprocessing. So let's check the output now and see how it's different. So the output looks the same as before. You have all the same folders, but now we have a PDF for each of those bindings. So on our e-reader, we would simply copy each of these PDFs to the e-reader, and that's what we would read. You don't want to delete these source folders though, because like we saw earlier, if you want to reprocess later, it will see that this folder already exists and not do the same processing again. So keeping these files around will help you save time if you ever want to reprocess. That's about it. We just saw that MangAI processed an entire series using just a single command, using a single click of the run button. You didn't have to manually specify which chapter belonged to which volume. You didn't have to specify the order of the scans within each of the chapters. That's a huge time saver compared to other manga processors that only let you process a chapter at a time, and you mainly have to specify the output name of that chapter. You mainly have to specify the order of the scans within that chapter. Sometimes you even have to unarchive that chapter beforehand so that the program can handle it. But this program is pretty good at handling any type of input that you can throw at it, extracting everything out to its individual images, and then reorganizing those into a much easier, user-friendly organization. Well, that's it for the basics of MangAI. If you have any further questions, you should check the README first. There's a lot of information in there. You can also contact me through the website or leave a comment in one of the threads. I hope you enjoy the program, and I hope that it makes your digital manga experience even more enjoyable. Thank you.